don't go too far, just maybe the second speed. Okay?
As Americans, we created a new diversion in cavalry tactics that the Europeans didn't do. We rode with the halters on. If you look at JC over here, this pretty young lady is petting. Hey JC. JC is wearing a halter. It has a link strap. And they would link the horses, so if you had all four of these horses, it would be linked together and they'd be partners. They'd fight together and stay together.
During the fight.
And the number 4 man was responsible for holding them, and the number 1, 2, and 3 man would get off and fight on foot. European cavalry always fought from the saddle with either a horse pistol or a saber. But Americans learned that these horses died, 40,000 of them were killed in 1864 alone. And so, and in the Confederate Army, they owned their own, so they began to adapt to fight on foot. So this piece of gear here, this link strap, allowed you to fight on foot and use the horse to get to the fight.
Where would you hook it?
Would
it hook on the bridle, or would it hook at the back of the saddle?
You know, you would hook
right onto the halter.
The halter to bridle.
Here! It's your ranks! It's your ranks! Brian, why are you way out here?
Get back in your 2 rank.
Get in your company formation, Chief.
Ready!
Hey!
This, as Jonathan said, this was called the Mississippi Rifle, not because it was Confederate, but because it was American war against the Mexicans in 1842, and this rifle was invented, and right as that occurred, and it's rifled. It has a percussion cap. The Mexicans we were fighting had rifles like George Washington with a flash powder and a piece of flint where you look away when you pull the trigger. And those shoot 100 yards. These shoot about 300 yards. So our technology caused us to overrun Mexico with 40,000 men in like 3 months. These were in wide use in the Civil War. They also had a .44 version of this Colt revolver. Some of the problems with it is it has a brass frame, so at repeated use it starts to loosen up, and so it requires a lot of work to keep it going. And that's a Remington. Now you can tell the difference between a Remington and a Colt because of the bar over the top of the rifle, or the pistol, and rifle. The Remington made a rifle as well with a revolving cylinder. Now, one of the things you see in Hollywood is Josie Wales putting the bullets in his gun, but Josie Wales is carrying .44 Colts, and the way that they're loaded is you pour powder in the pistol, you tamp the powder down with this tamper, you put the ball on it and tamp the ball in, and then you cap the back of it, and then you're ready to shoot. But if you want to speed that up, the whole thing comes apart, and you can replace the entire cylinder. I've never seen a cowboy movie yet where they stop in the middle of a gunfight and change cylinders, but because Hollywood likes to put modern type blanks in them. But this is the pistol that most of those gunfights and the Civil War people were using. And of course, the most common weapons in the Old West were Civil War weapons, because when the war was over, we had 1 million men under arms, and the Confederates, of course, if they had deserted, they still had their weapons. If the Federals, the Federals owed their army 6 months of back pay at the end of the war, and they sold them their weapons as part of the settlement. So many people in their attics and stuff have old rifles and stuff, and it's because the U.S. government sold the rifle to the soldier when he got out, because they didn't want it anymore, because they didn't expect to have an army that was that big ever again.
Wow.
Fire it well.
Shoot the big one.
Good. When you fire, move towards the rear while you're loading. Shoot and go, shoot and go.
You can see my blade's all hacked up because we fight blade on blade, but we're trying to be safe. In the Civil War, what the cavalry was trying to do was put this blade into your opponent, hook it in his uniform, really, and the speed of the horse would run the blade through the individual at 45 miles an hour or so. And so this became very scary. If you could get the infantry to unload, fire a volley, and then before they could reload, hit them with a cavalry charge, then yeah, you could break their ranks. And once they turned around, it's all she wrote. These are balanced sabers. They kind of carry themselves